Hello, and welcome to Self-Care is Sexy. My name is Chris, and I'll be your host. We're a podcast that's here to generate and share self-care ideas with each other. Last episode was all about honoring your boundaries, with tips on how to enforce those boundaries and how to spot the line crossers in your life. If you missed that show, you can always find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Spreaker, or even at the website www.selfcareissexy.com. I want to give you a quick preview of what to expect from today's show. So today, we're going to be talking about self-care through the upcoming holidays and even some tips on travel. But even if you're not planning on any holiday travel this year, this is a really great episode with tips on travel and self-care in general, as well as I've got a list of some of the holiday self-care gifts that you can either get for yourself, because Lord knows you deserve it, or for the other stressed out ladies in your life who could use some self-care. But first, a few quick housekeeping notes. All right, so today's show is going to be all about holiday travel and self-care. And again, if you're not planning on traveling in the next few weeks for Christmas or whatever, there's really some good tips coming up that can help you no matter where or why you're going. So if you just have travel coming up in general, or if you just really need some creative self-care ideas, I've got you covered. Plus, at the end, I want to go over some gifts that I've found for self-care that you can either get for yourself or for someone else that may need the reminder that self-care is sexy. You still have time to get them shipped, and they're thinking out of the box, amazing self-care products. So stay tuned for that. First up, I want to talk real quick about self-care and holidays in general because, the holidays seem to add this whole extra layer of stress and expectation, and the lack of self-care seems to be so much more prevalent during these next few weeks. Mainly because there's so many expectations involved with the holidays. Everyone's got an idea of how they want it to go or what they want to see happen. And so when there's that added layer of stress, whether it's from the holidays or maybe it's just an upcoming event or some big change that you didn't plan for. Either way, when these things are happening, it's extremely important to remember that even though it's overwhelming, there's a lot to do, and you have these expectations of how it will go, there are some ways that you can navigate through these times of years or these periods that you go through just a little bit of planning. So just being aware of what you've got coming ahead. And I know a lot of us love to be, spontaneous and fly by the seat of our pants. But if you're experiencing a lack of self-care and you're just really not taking care of yourself, one of the best things you can do is just plan ahead and really just evaluate what's coming up, right? Maybe just sitting down with an actual calendar and writing down so that you can visually see it. Calendars on our phone, they're great, right? We get that little buzz, that reminder. But the phones have become such an extension of us that a lot of times they don't offer the organizational tools that they're designed to have. So just having that visual calendar. For me, I've got one of those, a boss gave this to me 10, 15 years ago. It's like a whiteboard calendar that you just, like a dry erase board that's just got the 31 days or whatever. And you just, you write with a, dry erase marker every month. And it hangs right by my desk, and it just gives me that visual cue when I'm sitting down and looking up, it hangs right there, and I change it every month, so it gives me a lot of consistency. And that little bit of planning and just seeing it visually really does help to create a peace of mind. When there's structure in place, when there's ways that you can kind of see what's happening visually, it really does give you this sense of okay, maybe it's not as overwhelming as my mind likes to make it. Because believe me, our minds are designed to overwhelm us. They're designed to look around and see what's wrong, what could go wrong, all the worst case scenarios. Like our brain is really good at that. And so having these little things in place, whether it's a visual calendar or just something that you can jot down on a piece of paper, it will show you that while your brain is telling you you have a million things to do between now and New Year, you really don't, right? And you can manage it through just a little bit of planning, because that's going to do something amazing for you. It's going to create peace of mind. And peace of mind is what you need as a form of self-care. We all get overwhelmed thinking we need to do some massive thing for self-care, and you really, really don't. What I hope that you'll understand from today's show when I go through these tips is that it's really about focusing on the small ways that you can get self-care in the next couple of weeks. It's about really being intentional and checking in with yourself to know when it's time to rest, when it's time to stop, when it's time to readjust your expectations about what's going on, how events should turn out, who's there, who's saying what, all those things. So again, before we get started today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about self-care and the holidays in general, because there are all these expectations of what should be done in the next couple of weeks, whether it's buying presents for the kids or getting that cute fancy dress for the upcoming New Year party, or making sure that you did all the cookies for, the little tins for your neighbors or whatever. All those expectations are incredible to strive for, but remember, you need to put yourself first before you do any of that extra fancy, fun holiday stuff. Really want you to take that away from today's show. Next, I actually want to talk a little bit more about boundaries, but specifically with family. Really, it's because, this is the time of year when you're going to have a little less control about who you're surrounding yourself with. Like the in-laws and your kids' school functions, or like your spouse's work party, right? Like in normal times, non-holiday time of year, you have a lot of control over whether or not you go to social events or who's at the social events. That can help you determine whether that's a good thing for you to engage in or not. And so the holidays, there's a lot more events going on where you don't quite have that control. So I really want to make sure that if you are having a hard time with just taking care of yourself, like at the basic level, that you're really, really hyper-focused and aware the next couple of weeks, enforcing your boundaries with your family or these other people that you might be around that you don't really have the choice to be around. And enforcing those boundaries is going to look like walking out of toxic situations, even if that's awkward, even if that's going to cause conflict. Holding firm in your boundaries with your family is going to look like calling out when someone says something racist or homophobic or something that you don't agree with, and that them saying that is actually detrimental to your well-being, your mental health. And knowing when is a good time to stand up for yourself and really, really ground yourself in that knowing and that understanding that you always have your own back. And you really want to practice with that this holiday season. If somebody says something sideways and that's going to create, some mental turmoil for you, stand up for yourself, stand in your power, remember your self-care, and call it out. Because the last couple of years, we've been through a lot of stuff, and it's time to really change the way we take care of ourselves and the way that we help train others how to treat us. That's a big part of what's coming up the next couple of weeks. So make sure, if you're struggling with that, if that's something that you really want some more in-depth content, go to the website, search the archives. Episode 55 is about how to set boundaries. And then this very last episode I just did, episode 159, is about enforcing those boundaries. So these are really important concepts to carry with you into those holiday social gatherings. Okay, before I get to my 5 tips on holiday travel self-care, there's a couple other things I just want to talk about, again, because it's the holidays. There's a lot going on when it comes to self-care right now. And so I really want to talk a little bit about the perception of self-care, especially this time of year. There's a reason that we say the phrase and that we're called self-care is sexy. It's because it takes a badass baller bitch to make taking care of yourself the priority. That is a sexy quality to have. And it's called self-care because yourself is first. You are first. And this time of year, there's all this messaging floating around about how we need to do for the family, do for the kids, do for everyone around us. We need to make sure that all the wonderful packages are bowed and tied and pretty and all of these expectations that we have. There's all this pressure to do so many other things outside of taking care of ourselves. And what makes self-care so important is that when you put yourself first, when you choose to rest instead of force yourself to grind yourself down by doing all these things, when you take care of yourself and when you make that choice, you are strengthening your ability to not only accomplish more, but to do it in a healthy way. And I've talked about this before, you're also setting an example for everyone around you. There might be someone in your life right now that doesn't say it, but they really look up to you as an example. And it doesn't have to be a younger person. It can be somebody that is your same age in your peer group, and they're looking at you as an example of what they are shooting for as their favorite self. And so it's really important just to remember that making yourself the priority, taking care of you first before all of these other extenuating obligations that come with the holidays is the most important and the most efficient way to accomplish all of the tasks on that long-ass list that you have to get done in the next couple of weeks. And it's important to realize and admit that it is not time that's holding you back from taking care of yourself. It's really your underlying belief that you're not worth it. You're really telling yourself that wrapping these presents, picking out the favorite thing for Uncle Jim, buying the best wine for the holiday party, making sure, everyone is happy around you, you're saying all of those things are more important than you are. That's what you're doing when you don't make self-care the priority. People who are really successful and who are really beacons of light are really good at taking care of themselves first. They're really good at saying, what do I need today to make sure that I am my best, fullest, most present self so that I can then get other things done. That includes doing your morning workout before you get into baking holiday cookies, or having your water and getting all of the hydration that you need for the day before you get the gift for the kids' upcoming Secret Santa party or whatever it is. So it's just extremely important that you recognize that putting yourself first right now, today, no matter what you have to get done or accomplish, is going to make you more efficient at getting done what you need to get done in a healthier way that benefits you and the other people that are the recipient of all your hard work. Something I've really come to understand about taking care of myself, and that I've witnessed in my community of people that have a hard time taking care of themselves, is that being proud of yourself, celebrating your success, and doing your own hype up work, it doesn't feel natural. And most women especially feel super awkward or bad about doing that. If a woman was to be show up to the holiday party and be like, oh my God, this year I fucking killed it. I did amazing at my job. I made X amount of dollars. I got the kids all squared away. I've been doing homeschool as well as hybrid learning. And just kind of went on and celebrated all these things that she had done. People at that party would probably have the perception that, geez, there's an egomaniac, or she's a bitch, or wow, look who has to float her own boat, There's all this perception that women are not allowed to do that. And yet, if men were to do that, right, everyone's high-fiving him, everyone's like, yeah, you killed